Here we have the Tackle Club Freshwater Bass and Yellas box for August. Let's open her up and have a look. I'm going to start off with one here from Rapala. This is a little balsa wood hard body. So balsa wood's going to mean that it is super buoyant. So I'm actually going to be fishing this in the structure. So cast this in amongst some of the trees in the rivers or some of the laydowns and work this down. I'm not going to get too twitchy with it. I'm just going to go cast out and go straight into like maybe one twitch just to get it to dive down into like a slow to medium roll is going to be perfect for this. Because of the ultra high buoyancy with a balsa wood lure, as soon as you feel it bump into some submerged timber or a rock or something, just pause. This will quickly float up over that structure, allowing you to continue your retrieve. Awesome little lure, pre-fitted with 2 trebles on it, but balsa wood lures are hard to come by these days. A lot of them are just handmade, so it's good to see a company like Rapala still pumping out the old wooden lures, obviously with the classic Rapala finish on them as well. So this thing's going to be dynamite in the structure. Or if you're trolling, it's also going to be a good option for that. So this thing will dive down to about 10 foot deep. So that's, what, about 3 meters. So perfect little trolling lure as well. So if you troll this straight through a school of fish, you can pick up the odd yellow or bass as well. So an awesome little option to add to the box this month. Next up, we've got a little vibration style lure. So this is the V42 Blade by Pro Lure. Blades are one of my first go-to for bass and yellas because they're so versatile. You can just work these vertically like a jig, just straight up and down if you're sitting on top of some schooled fish, or you can work them on the retrieve as well. Being a sinking lure, I like to let this sink straight to the bottom, and then I'll do sort of 3, 4, 5 winds so it swims up the water column. I'll pause it, let it sink back down, just so I'm covering that bottom quarter or bottom third of the water column that I'm fishing in, because a lot of the time the fish will be close to the bottom when they are a little bit more active. But blade is definitely one of the first lures I'll tie on when I go out chasing bass and yellas. Then we've got 2 soft plastic options for you this month here. I'm going to start off with the Fish Arrow Flash J Huddle in the 3-inch. Now the very first time I ever saw these soft plastics was when I was over in Tokyo, Japan. And I was amazed by the finish of these, and I have been ever since. The little foil finish that they have in these fish arrow plastics is just sublime. Adds a little bit of flash on the retrieve, a little huddle paddle tail on the back. It's not like a typical T-tail paddle tail, it's more subtle. So I will fish these a bit slower because that huddle paddle tail will give you a similar swim style to a paddle tail, but not as wide and erratic. It's more of a tighter swimming action. So I like to fish these as light as I can. If I'm fishing an impoundment, I might go like 1/4 up to 3/8 of an ounce, depending on the depth that I'm fishing in. If I'm in a river system, then I'm probably going to be dropping back to like 1/8 up to 1/4 ounce. I do also like to fish these with like a little beetle spin blade attached to them as well. It's a fantastic option if you're fishing edge bite or fishing more in the structure. But the fishing style will be very much the same depending on, no matter how you rig it. Cast it out, let it sink down into the structure. If I've got that little beetle spin blade on there, I'll just give it a little rip, just get that blade spinning into a slow to medium retrieve, all the way back to my kayak or back to the boat. If I'm fishing it just as it is, pretty much the same sort of retrieve. I like to cast out, let it sink, give a hop straight off the bottom, straight to a slow to medium retrieve, but then I'll pause it, let it sink back down to the bottom again, straight to another hop into a slow to medium retrieve. And then last but not least, or second last but not least, one from Demiki's. This is the Demiki Squash Shad. Why do they call it the Squash Shad? Well, if you look at the unique tail on the back, it's a grub style body, but it's a weird T-tail, paddle tail on the back that looks like it's been squashed. So this gives the tail a wider profile, and then the paddle on the back is going to pick up a lot of that water, giving it a lot of vibration and side-to-side motion in that swimming action. Once again, I'm going to be looking at the same setup as the Flash J Huddle, so either that 1/4 or 1/8 to 1/4 ounce, all the way up to 3/8 of an ounce if you're fishing in an impoundment or a dam. But if you're fishing the rivers and stuff, then you're probably going to drop back to that 1/8 to 1/4 ounce jig head. Now you can chuck the beetle spin on these as well. It's very, very similar to your Flash J Huddle in terms of the setup. In terms of the fishing, is going to be pretty much the same, but different profile body. So the length of it is a bit shorter than the Flash J Huddle as well. So it is a more finesse style. So I'm going to be probably opting for the lighter side of the jig head range on this one, as opposed to the Fish Arrow Flash J Huddle. But fishing in very much the same way. And then now, last but not least, is Sax Scent. So I have this one here in the Wasabi. Actually don't mind that. Some of them absolutely reek, but this one is quite a subtle smell. So you're just gonna get a little bit of this, rub it onto your soft plastic or even on your hard bodies, just to add a little bit of scent to the lure itself. Especially as it's starting to warm up now, we're gonna be putting on the sunscreen and things like that, start protecting ourselves from the sun. So a little bit of scent like this on your lure can go a long way to getting rid of some of that humanoid scent that we leave all over our lures. And that's it for the Bass and Yellas box this month. If you want to check it out, or any of the others in the range, just head to www.tackleclub.com.au, pick a box that's right for you, and welcome to the club.